A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but social media influencers will say almost anything to get a few social media clicks. So what do we make of the idea that porn stars or former porn industry actors may well be claiming to be Christian? Well, Bill Muehlenberg has been writing about this from a story that he'd picked up around what was quite a well-known porn star named Jenna Jameson. He's written an article called From Sleaze to Christ. Bill's back with us. Hey, Bill, welcome back to 2020.
Thanks again, Neil.
Bill, sometimes we might be doubtful about what happens with people who have been a part of the porn industry, anything to get a few more followers, and that's a challenging thing. What caught your imagination here?
Yeah, well, that's quite right. And just two quick stories immediately to buttress that point. I think I had seen this article, just yesterday or the other day on Fox News. Just the headline, I thought, well, I don't really want to click on this. And then on social media, I had seen another similar thing, and then I thought, okay, I better look into this because it sounds like she did have a Christian conversion. And then in my new article on this conversion, I mentioned a piece I wrote way back in 2007 talking about the porn culture and, just how bad it's become, how it's become mainstream. And I actually quoted a title of a book that this Jenna had written, How to Make Love Like a Porn Star. So I just did that in passing, saying that's an indication how far down the tubes we've gone. It's a popular selling book, evidently. But then somebody sent in a comment, some guy saying, but she's actually being critical of the porn industry in that book. Now, at the time, I knew nothing about her. I certainly had no intent to go out and buy the book. So actually, I didn't print that guy's comment. And then, when this week I discovered this same gal was said now to have been a Christian, I thought, oops, maybe I should have not been so harsh on this guy who sent in his comment, who was trying to say, maybe she's making a move away. But anyways, it sounds like, according to Fox News and other stories, that just recently she really has made a serious conversion to Christ, and she's, left it behind altogether, her past life, and is now trying to tell others about, what a lousy industry this is and how anybody can have their life transformed. So again, if this is the real deal, that's pretty exciting news.
More and more, Bill, we're reading headlines that are about people who work in the porn industry suiciding. And that is a message that speaks very loudly about the sort of industry and about the sort of fulfillment and about the despair that they are left in. Those that glamorise the porn industry might be missing the point because so many bad news stories. Well, here's a good news story, and the way that redemption might not be reserved just for people who are doing other things other than the porn industry. Even porn actors are coming to Christ. Yeah, well, I've been writing on some of these that I've seen over the years, and evidently it's not just the gals, but some guys as well who've left the industry. But as you say, in terms of suicide, I've in the past shared some of their stories. It's everything. They feel like they're being prostituted. There's often heavy drug addiction that goes with it. Often they can be, beaten by the filmmakers. I mean, it's a whole sordid, sleazy life. It's presented as glamorous and wonderful, but those in it, and especially those who've left it, they paint a much different picture as well. So, as I say, I never did read this book that Jenna had put out some years ago, but and whether she's going to do another book or something now on her journey to Christ. But it's just as we have former drug addicts or former criminals or former prisoners now ministering to others of the same group, at least somebody like this can now minister to other people still in the industry and, encourage them that, hey, there is a better way than this kind of life, even if it's making a whole lot of money.
So from what you've been able to glean, Bill, it's been a process, a journey of getting free from the porn industry for the actress Jenna Jameson. Give us your impression as to how that had developed to a point where she's now acknowledged Christ.
Yeah, well, again, I'm mostly utilizing this recent piece from Fox News website. But evidently, as far as I can tell from there, she had a Jewish upbringing or background or something. And then evidently, 15 years ago, she had a relationship with an Israeli businessman. So she then evidently converted or reconverted back to Judaism. So she's kind of had a patchy back and forth religious background. But according to this piece, it's only been very recently, evidently. And I guess we'll learn more in the days ahead. Very recently, where now somehow she's found Christ, and she's now telling others about Christ. And as she said, I'm trying to open their eyes to the truth that no one is beyond redemption. So, again, that story will likely come out with, today I suppose that'd be a video or a podcast as much as a book. But I posted this on the social media the other day. One gal, asked, is she really saved? And I said, well, look, at the end of the day, only God knows for sure those who are truly His, right? I can only take her at her word. And I said, if nothing else, we have to pray for her, that it is indeed a real conversion, not just a flash in the pan thing, another move along the way. I mean, hate to say it, we had Bob Dylan go through his Christian phase some years ago, put out a few Christian albums, which were fantastic. But then he kind of left that and, maybe him as well, went back kind of to his own Jewish roots. So, it's, care is needed. In fact, if I can give a quick story here again on this very issue, a lot of churches and leaders like to highlight people like this, right? Celebrity testimonies, famous people who got amazingly converted. Problem is, if you do it kind of too fast, too soon, it can, what if she's not really, or he's not really properly disciplined or discipled? I recall long ago at Calvary Chapel, right? Chuck Smith's church back in California. I went there one Saturday night, which was often kind of a rock concert, but they had to begin with, as a testimony, a former Playboy bunny. So she came up and gave her testimony. Now, I don't remember much about it, but I do recall thinking, well, hopefully she's had a chance to, get a bit of teaching, a bit of discipling. If you put these people in the spotlight too soon, things can go pear-shaped. Paul talks about do not lay hands suddenly on any man. The idea being don't, deal with young and new converts. So it could be the same here. Give them a chance to grow, mature a bit, to learn more about Christ, and then give them a chance to platform themselves. But in the meantime, let's keep them in prayer.
I can hear your heartbeat, Bill. A word of caution, even a word of warning about pedestalizing people who've come from the sex industry, because in a day and age when clicks mean dollars for people who are on modern porn sites, it may be that taking a new track and reaching a new audience may actually be still money in your pocket from people who might well visit those sites. So you've got to be just a little bit realistic about that, haven't you? And I guess here, a little bit cynical about the sort of exploitation. I mean, if people have been exploited, they may well have learned to exploit. And there may be Christian believers exploited, or even leaders pedestalizing and putting them in the pulpit to share their story. And that may actually be not a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, not just porn stars, could be anybody, some famous whatever politician who is known for all of his dirty, underhanded ways who becomes a Christian, or any criminal or whatever. They all can be too quickly put in the spotlight. And we can too easily, as you say, put them on a pedestal and think these guys are great. I mean, what was it? The Apostle Paul, I think he said, what was in Galatians or Acts about how he after he got converted, he spent like 14 years in the deserts of Arabia or something, presumably being discipled, directly by Christ himself. So if even Paul could have a long time out before he really got into public ministry, I guess that's good advice for any of us, especially those, that are following, people all around the world know who you are and know your past. Real care, I think, is needed. So again, the point I keep emphasizing both here and in my article, these guys certainly need a lot of prayer. They need all the help they can get. Hopefully they find a good church, a good mentor, good discipling, good real friends that can help them along the way. So let's pray to that end. And I'll look forward to either whatever, articles, books, videos where that testimony is spelled out more clearly. And this time maybe I will buy the book, unlike, many years ago when I didn't want to. So, it's presumably a great story of God's redemption and love. So let's pray not only her, but many more like her do come to know Christ and get out of this. Really, it's a pretty sordid and ugly lifestyle. It's presented as glamorous, but it's pretty dark indeed.
And Bill, there are a lot of people who are in the public eye, celebrities, and what might come to mind, Kanye West. Who went through a conversion experience and even released some Christian worship albums, and then took a bit of a dive back into his old ways. These things are happening all the time, it seems.
Yeah, well, that's right. I'm not a big follower of him, but I do recall that he had some kind of Christian thing. I think he was hanging around with Kim Kardashian at the time, maybe even married. And I recall telling her to dress more modestly and all this stuff. And I thought, that's kind of neat. Maybe he is a Christian, but it's like he's gone off the rails big time of late. So at least in his case, that was a very short-lived thing. And, maybe it was never real to begin with. So hard to say, but we need care here.
Yes, and it's good to finish on a note that goes above the cautions and the warnings, and to be able to celebrate a conversion, recognising, but by God's grace, no one is beyond redemption. So there might be some that you could think of as being untouchable by God, but even porn stars coming to Christ, that's good news, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we can pray more happens. I mean, just in every area, right? Muslims coming to Christ, Jews coming to Christ, you name it. We need conversions on a mass scale in all kinds of areas. So presuming that she has given us a legit, real deal story, we thank God for it. We keep her in prayer, and we hope that many more like her do see the light as well.
So a little bit of, there's a scriptural way of thinking about discernment or testing spirits and all of those sorts of things that I think there's all sorts of ways you can interpret those things. But a little discernment required from Christian believers. Don't believe everything. Wonder whether you may be the one being exploited in all of that, but at the same time taking an opportunity to celebrate. And depending on the conversation that you're in with the people that you mix with in your circle of friends and influence, there may well be a wonderful opportunity to pull out the story of the porn star who has come to Christ and experienced wonderful redemption. For those listeners wanting to read what Bill's been writing about, he's written an article this week called From Sleaze to Christ. And by God's grace, lives can be turned around. You can find the article we've been talking about today at billmuehlenberg.com or simply Google Culture Watch, one word. Hey, Bill, thanks so much for updating us once again today on 2020.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.